Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we start our interview with our dear guest, Dr. Abdel Rahman, journalist and political analyst and writer. Dr. Abdel Rahman, Egypt is exerting all efforts to put an end to the war in Gaza, especially President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is always keen on negotiating on this topic. In all his meetings, Gaza is high on the agenda of the talks, like when the president met with the Chinese Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and also when the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mark Rutte. He also discussed, so whenever he meets any of the officials from any country around the world, Gaza is high on the agenda, especially the latest meeting with the Prime Minister of Netherlands. The President said that there should be an immediate ceasefire and to put an end to the suffering of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
I'm sure that Mr. President is doing his best efforts with persistence to end the bloodshed in Gaza Strip, based on strong resolution to the whole case, not just putting an end to the war. We need to end the war and to prevent another war to raise. That's how Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is thinking right now. And that's the common vision that Egypt is speaking of with mutual powers in the whole world, with Britain, with Netherlands, with any counterpart. For me, I believe that war, as a result, has given the results we are seeking, we are waiting for. But the Zionist existence is resuming the war to prevent and to avoid declaring the results of that war. Letting alone the catastrophe that Gaza Strip civilians are witnessing right now, more than 30,000 martyrs, displaced and whatsoever.
Yes.
But I'm talking about the war. The war was between a very strong army, technically, against civilians, against resistance powers,
yes.
With, I might say, homemade weapons.
Yes.
This can never be, of course. Yeah. And the Zionist existence has faced a true defeat, by all means, by all military means.
But why is Israel insisting on continuing
to avoid that result to be declared?
Yes.
If they have
maybe they are also they don't want the Palestinians to go back to their homes, because there was a forced displacement, of course. And also, can we say that they continue in the war because for the sake of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yes, political reasons.
Yes, for political reasons.
Political reasons.
Yes.
Once the war is declared to be stopped, Netanyahu will face the committee that will condemn him.
Yes.
And all the Israeli systems and associations and intelligence, with failure, true failure, historical failure.
Yes.
That's why he is extending the war, searching for any media victory, any massacres, many more massacres, despite he is losing the war each and every day. Yes. And we have witnessed how the Israeli soldiers were celebrating the withdrawal from Shugai streets, territory in Gaza Strip, celebrating, dancing in the street, that they are withdrawing from Gaza Strip.
Yes.
If this is not a defeat, what is the defeat is?
Yes. Especially continuing in the war and the intensive strikes and raids, Israel could risk the killing of the hostages, Israeli hostages.
Which already has happened, indeed.
Yes.
I believe...
The 3 weeks ago, 3 of the hostages were killed by Israel.
Exactly. I believe that the true agenda of the Zionist existence has failed, which was displacing Palestinians and move them to Sinai.
Especially, Dr. Abdurrahman, that 3 weeks ago, the French President Emmanuel Macron said that the eliminating Hamas could take 10 years or years.
Look,
you know the idea, because
I know,
yes.
I know. I want to express something very critical here. Hamas as an organization were made by other powers than not the Arabs. Let's say the enemy has made Hamas in the first place, but in the meantime, through the time, there are new
resistance. It's a new
true resistance in Palestine right now.
Yes.
There is
it's also Hamas is a result of the occupation.
Of course.
Yes.
What I'm talking about here, that there is a spirit of resistance.
Yes.
Has been created in the occupied lands right now. Each and every Palestinian
now
is
has
searching.
Lost his beloved ones and relatives.
Even without this,
yes,
it's time for this occupation to stop, to end. And for Hamas, it's now taking the right course, which is fighting the only enemy to the whole Arabs, which is the Zionist existence.
Yes.
We have a treaty with the Zionist existence, and of course we respect it, but that doesn't mean we surrender the land to them. We surrender our rights, in our Arabic rights, to them.
Yes.
Each and every Palestinian citizen, with nameless, I don't care what his organization is. I don't care what he is under any flag. There is one flag to Palestine, which is the official flag. One resistance should be gathered on one leadership. This is a very important thing here.
Yes.
To gather around one leadership, to unite themselves, to stop calling themselves Hamas or Jihad or the Palestinian Authority.
Yes.
We need a Palestinian leadership.
Yes.
To build this state.
Yes, Dr. Abdurrahman, also it's not only President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, but all the ministers of Egypt and the government is also seeking for any solution to stop the war in Gaza, to end the suffering of the civilians. As the Minister of Defense, as we just saw in the report, Minister of Defense and Military Production General Mohammed Zaki have met with the UN delegation from the United States. Also they met with the Foreign Minister Samah Shukri. Also these are also efforts in order to put an end for the war in Gaza, and they all rejected also after also President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said said that the forced displacement is really the most thing that is directly affecting the security of the civilians in Gaza Strip.
Mr. President has declared it quite clear since day one. Not only the President, also the Palestinians.
Yes, yes.
Also the Palestinians, even Hamas leadership. They have declared there is no displacement for the Palestinians.
The Israeli occupation troops says to the Palestinians, you have to go to the south, and then the strikes is in the south. They hit the south, and they tell them you have to go to Rafah, and when they go to Rafah, they are bombarded. Did you get me? So
the Zionist existence has failed. It can never achieve any of his agenda.
Yes.
He can only, as I told you,
clear
extend the war,
war
extend
crime
the
in
suffering.
Yes, war crimes in the forced displacement is a war crime.
Of course.
Also killing of civilians, women and children, and also the hospitals went out of service, also stopping or eliminating the aid to reach to the Palestinians and the medicines, and actually the Israel side have accused Egypt in the International Court of Justice that Egypt was the one who were not allowing the passage of the humanitarian aid and the medicines, yet Egypt have rejected all the allegations by the Israeli side, saying that from day one Egypt was allowing the crossing and it's controlling the crossing border from the Egyptian side, and from the Palestinian side Israel is the one who is risen. So give us an idea about how did you read this stance from Israel accusing Egypt concerning the humanitarian aid?
Only the Zionist existence is telling that huge lie, and only the Zionists are believing it. There is no country in the world, there is no leader in the world has talked about that Egypt is blocking the passage of Rafah. That hasn't happened. There is no one statement by any president or official in Europe, in the US, in any country of the whole world, saying that Egypt is blocking the
yes, and
the passage.
also the UNRWA
only
president,
Israel is talking about this lie.
The UNRWA president Lazzarini said that Egypt was not rejecting the passage of any humanitarian. On the contrary, Egypt from day one was calling for the opening of the border and for the crossing of the cars and the trucks in order to reach to the Palestinians and the injured ones, and to help save them.
The UN Secretary Antonio
Yes,
Guterres
and it was
has declared it also.
Yes.
We have never closed that gate ever. It's always opened.
Yes.
Only
Even
when
before the war started.
Of course, before
it was
and
always
after.
there. Yes.
And right now, we can never.
Egypt did not stop the supplies for any through the history. Yes.
Palestine is a part of our own national security.
Yes.
A very important part of our national security. Yes. We can never block the ties with this nation, ever.
This brings us, Dr. Abdel, to a very important point, which is the history of Egypt's making the Palestinian cause as one of its priorities through history, through the 75 years ago. Because
Egypt.
Egyptians, yes,
only Egypt has fought for this case.
We're fighting with the Palestinians and the Arab armies.
Only Misr, only Egypt has fought for
yes.
that cause. Only Misr, Egypt, has fought and paid the blood
yes.
of our dear soldiers, the best soldiers on earth, for that cause. And no other power in the region has defended the Arabic rights in Palestine, only Egypt. Yes. Some powers have defended the rights for its own agenda, to take political gains from statements like we are defending the Palestinians' rights, but only Egypt is taking the lead of that cause and taking the true shield and armor for the Palestinians and the whole territory, the Arabic region.
Long ago, Gaza was under the rule of Egypt.
For more than 7,000 years.
Yes.
Gaza Strip is a part of the Egyptian influence and administration for 7,000 years. Only after the war of June 5th, 1967, we have lost Gaza Strip, but it was always under our own administration and our own influence, as we have what I call it the national security borders for Egypt, which more extended than our strategic borders. We have declared it quite well, and we have communicating with the forces in Palestine, all of the powers in Palestine, whether resistance or officials, that Palestinians, they belong to their homeland, and they will never leave their land. They have the same concept, they have the same belief. For the first time in Palestine, they have that spirit of resistance. They will live or die on their own country.
Yes. Dr. Abdurrahman, now with what the Palestinians are suffering, the women and children, so how did you see the stance and the reaction of the international women organizations, international child organizations? So where are the organizations, the international organizations, seeing how the Palestinians are suffering?
Well, of course, they have taken a positive situation, but what I care about most are the people, are the nations all over the world. Without that feeling, that overwhelming the whole nations all over the world to support the Palestinians' rights and to sympathize with the tragedy that the Palestinians are witnessing right now, and without the media right now that have invaded the whole world, we would never documented those war crimes as the lawsuit that raised by South Africa, which deserves an honorable stand and an honorable seat in the Arab League for such a historical situation. The whole organizations of the world, the whole nations are now not believing anymore any of the Western media lies about the Zionist existence. And even the Western nations are refusing and rejecting the thought of immigration, the backwards immigration of the Israelis from the Zionist existence to their own homeland in Eurasia, in Europe. They are more than 70,100, quarter of a million, 750,000 of Israelis have immigrated back to their own homeland in Europe. Before 100 years ago, they were pushed over to that false dream of a nation for the Jews, which have revealed its true face. It's nothing but a false dream, based on the territory of Arabic rights and Arabic land.
Unfortunately, our time is up. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. We really had the honor to have you with us today, this morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Amr Abdurrahman, writer, journalist, and political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is always mine.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for us. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break, and I'm going to be back with you.